Hey everyone, welcome to Anatomy. This is your very first set of notes and video that I am recording for you. I have recorded all of our notes and lectures this way, so that way you have ease and ability to take notes both in class and outside of class as needed. This is just an introductory lecture. You can take light notes on this if you would like to. Otherwise, starting next time when we get into organ systems, I do need you to take detailed notes. And I prefer that you take handwritten notes as well. If you ever want, you can print out the pictures from the PowerPoint if you'd like. I give you access to both this video and the slides as well. My expectation when it comes to taking notes in anatomy is to obviously take notes. You can use them on your PFAs, and using color and pictures only helps you when it comes to understanding the material. So I highly encourage handwritten notes. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Introduction to Anatomy. The title of this class is Human Anatomy and Physiology, so we're going to talk about what both of those terms mean today and a little bit of the different branches of each. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Essential question, what's the difference between anatomy and physiology? Ooh, and here I need to move my camera. I do this quite a bit. Okay, so overview of anatomy. What does anatomy mean? It's the study of the structure and location of body parts. So it's kind of like, where is it? What is it? Okay, a great example of this is we will be learning about first different organ systems and different regions of the body for our very first unit. So it's the study of the structure or location of body parts and their relationships to one another. What things look like. So when it comes to doctors or any type of medical professional, they need to be able to refer to terms in a universal language. So that way, whether you are a doctor in a certain specialty versus another specialty, you can communicate accurately with each other. And also this is universal, I believe, in terms of like worldwide. Okay, so subdivisions of anatomy. We are going to be looking at anatomy in a couple different levels. We can do gross, or gross means large, macroscopic. So we can look at gross anatomy, which is large, anything that you can see with your normal eye. So this can be talked about regional, systemic, or surface anatomy. That'll be on the next slide as well. Versus microscopic. So we will actually have a unit where we look at microscopic anatomy. So that's anything that's really small. You need to use a microscope to see it, such as different types of cells and tissues of the body. We do have a unit on that. Developmental versus embryology. Developmental anatomy follows how the body changes throughout lifetimes. Now, this can be once a human is born and how they change throughout their life. You can see this picture here. And then embryology is kind of like a branch of developmental biology. It's the study of developmental changes of the body before birth. So from conception until the baby is born. Oh, I forgot to mention this picture here. This picture shows the difference between gross versus microscopic anatomy. So here we have a brain. That is something large that you can see with your regular eye. You do not need a microscope to be able to view that this is an organ of the body. This picture here shows microscopic individual neuron cells. And so you can see that they're labeled here, individual cells. We do need a microscope to see the cells of the brain. All right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the branches of the gross anatomy. I'm going to move my camera again. I'm going to move it over here. It's covering the title, but that's all right. So different branches of gross anatomy, things that we can see with our eyes. We can study these in a variety of ways. We have regional, systemic, and surface. So regional talks about when you are referencing the structures in one specific part of the body, like the abdomen or the leg. Has anybody ever gone to an ear, nose, and throat doctor? That's what this picture represents right here. The ear, nose, and throat is all located in the neck or the head. And a lot of these parts are really connected, and so there are doctors that will specialize in just a specific part of the human body. And so we will actually be doing this as well when we are studying body parts in organ systems. Oh wait, that's the next one, systemic. And so there are lots of different structures on your arm, or even just in your hand. You have multiple body parts that make up that region of your body. Systemic, this is where we're going to talk about organ systems. This is actually one of our very first things that we will be studying. And so we will be studying what all the different organ systems do. Here's a picture of a digestive system. We actually do have a whole unit on the digestive system. And then surface anatomy. You can study anatomy of the human body just by looking at it from the surface. Yes, we do dissection to where we can look at the internal structures of a body or a body part. No, we do not dissect humans in this class, but we do use comparative anatomy dissections to cover what we are studying. And so actually doctors and nurses can use surface anatomy to study internal structures as they relate to the outside. Have you ever been to a doctor when you're sick and they will palpate and touch your neck where these glands are to see if they're swollen? Sometimes a doctor will touch on your tummy to see if anything's out of place, or let's say you hurt your knee. Your doctor might fiddle with your kneecap or see how your knee is moving. So we have regional, systemic, and surface anatomy. Let's see. Next. Okay. Next, let's talk about the different types of microscopic anatomy. We can divide this into cytology or histology. Cytology, cyte means, or cyto means cell, so we can actually study individual cells. And you can see that here in this picture. This is a picture of a neuron. So all of the neurons that make up your brain or your nervous system. This is an example of one type of neuron. We will study this when we get to our histology unit. So histology is the study of tissues. A tissue is a group of cells that do a similar job. And so here you can see a bunch of neurons linked together in this picture to create nervous tissue. Okay, moving on. Physiology. So what is the difference between anatomy and physiology? Anatomy was, where is it, what is it? Can you locate the different parts of the body or the different things inside the body? Physiology is about how things function or how things do their job. So we're studying the function of the body's structural machinery, how that body part works. A great example of this is in our cardiovascular system unit. We will be learning the anatomy of the heart, so the different parts of the heart, but we will also be learning how does the heart actually do its job of pumping blood? How does it send signals from one part to the other to tell it to contract or relax? How to increase your heart rate or decrease your heart rate? We will be talking about the physiology of the cardiovascular system as well as the anatomy of it. So a lot of times we will be talking about the organ systems. Each organ system has a different job, and so how does that organ system function differently than another organ system? I've got a few examples down here. We've got renal. Renal means kidneys, so this is your urinary system. Kidneys are used to filter your blood and take out any excess chemicals or water that your body no longer needs. Neurophysiology, the workings of the nervous system. Cardiovascular, the operation of the heart and the blood vessels that I talked about earlier. At the advanced levels, so if you go and take anatomy and physiology at the college level, you'll get into more advanced terms and workings, and you can actually focus on cellular and molecular chemical reactions that actually go into more depth of the physiology of different organ systems. We will probably not be doing that at this level since this is a high school class. Just a heads up, I know this is a little caveat, but the purpose of this anatomy class is to kind of act as a college prep class. I want you to know enough about anatomy to that where if you actually take anatomy or physiology, typically they're separate courses at the college level. If you take these in college, you have a baseline level of knowledge to where you're comfortable when you enter to the college level. All right. Oops, wait. I missed my last slide. Okay, here we go. Principle of complementarity. Okay, if you have not been taking notes, if you have not been taking notes at all during this video, I do want you to jot down something about this because this is a reoccurring theme that will come up every single unit, I believe, when we are studying an anatomy. The principle of complementarity talks about how do anatomy and physiology work hand in hand when it comes to studying the function and the structure together. So a great example of this is the way something looks is often related to how the structure works. So a great example of this I put here. So it says hard bones protect internal organs. So the form and the function are both stated in the sentence. So form references the anatomy. Okay, the function references the physiology. So oftentimes the way something is formed or the way it looks in a body has something to do with how it actually works in its physiology. A great example of this is we will be learning about blood cells, specifically red blood cells. They have a very specific shape. They look like kind of like a concave donut. They don't actually have a hole in the middle, but they're kind of like sunken in the middle. And that's for a very specific reason, in which you will learn during our unit on blood. Another great example here is the shape of the hand. So the form of the hand allows us to understand the function of the hand. You have fingers. They are shaped in a specific way, and you have specific bones that allows you to move your fingers to contract and relax the muscles, and they create a gripping motion so you can grab objects and move them around. Here is a picture of the inner ear. You actually have very, very tiny bones shaped in a very specific way that helps you amplify the sound waves that enter your ear, and it transmits it through the neurons to your brain, so you can interpret that as sound. Okay, thank you so much for making it through your very first anatomy video. Hopefully it was painless. But yeah, welcome to anatomy. I'm so glad you're in my class.